Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I want to do something a little bit different from my regular true crime, although I will still be doing regular true crime. But there is a documentary series happening right now on Netflix called Unsolved Mysteries. It was highly recommended to me by some of my subscribers. I thought when I first heard about it, for the most part, it was going to be about like strange, unexplained phenomenons, and there is a little bit of that, but most of the episodes I've seen so far are true crime, kind of, yeah. Now, I've only seen 6 episodes because that's all that's on my Netflix, but I read that there's supposed to be 12. I was a little miffed. After episode 6, I was like, oh, just one more before I go to sleep, and it was over, and I thought, what? Netflix, 6 episodes? But I read there's supposed to be 12, so I have to do a little digging into whether they're just releasing a new one every week, or whether there's going to be like a second part to the series later on. But what I thought I might do, and we'll see how this goes, and if it's, if you like it or not, I thought I would give a little recap of each episode and then give maybe my theories or opinions on it, and then I really hope you guys do as well. I just want to say, in my last true crime video, I made a comment, and I knew as soon as I uploaded that video that I regretted it. I didn't say it right. I made a comment about keeping your opinions respectful, and I called out a few comments from my case before, and that was not my intention, because I like the sole purpose of me making these videos is for you guys to share your opinions and for us to have a discussion about it. I love that stuff, and I never wanted to make anyone feel like they can't give their opinion. And that's how it came across. And I noticed it as soon as I uploaded. I was like, oh man, I shouldn't have. And I know that some people were a little worried about that, but I did not mean to call anyone out. The only thing that I was trying to say was keep it respectful towards victims and families and stuff. But I never meant that you are not allowed to express your opinion. If you think someone did it, you think someone did it. I would love for you to tell me why and give me your reasons. And I mean that. I really, really love having discussions with you guys about cases. So please do continue to do that. So I don't know how long these videos will be, because I'm not going to give an in-depth recap of the story. I'm just going to recap it superficially, and then give a little bit my opinion on it. If you have not seen it but want to, then maybe save this video for later, because I'm obviously going to be spoiling it. I'm going to be talking about each case. So the first case on the documentary episode 1 is about a man named Ray Rivera. Now, he is 32 years old and a financial writer. So what he does, and I'm actually looking this up in an article because I wanted to dig a little bit more. He wrote financial newsletters about companies whose stocks he thought would rebound in price. I don't really know what that means, but he was writing about financial companies at the time. So let me just recap what happened. So he was pretty recently married, maybe a couple of years. I'm not even entirely sure. I watched it like last week. They showed footage of the wedding in the documentary, so I think it was fairly recent. Seemingly very normal guy, very happy guy, had a great family life, looked like one of those, like, I wouldn't say perfect husbands, but like the kind of husband I'd want to have. He just looked like a really good guy. And one day he got a call. So they had a friend staying with them for a few days, and his wife wasn't home, and the friend heard him get a call around 6:30 p.m. He ran out of the house like it was on fire, it was like super urgent, left the house, never came back. They spent a really long time looking for him. They showed footage of kind of the search they put up, which was heartbreaking to see. They talked to media. They tried everything to find him. His parents-in-law drove around. They started like patrolling the town to see if they could find his car anywhere. And they ended up finding his car parked in the parking lot of the Belvedere Hotel. Now, the Belvedere Hotel is like, this was in 2006. I'm guessing it's still the same. Hang on. I need to prepare this better. It was in Maryland. The Belvedere Hotel was the fancy hotel. Like, only the really rich people would stay there. So people have no idea what he was doing there. It took another little while before, like, they started looking around in the Belvedere. They got permission from, like, the staff to go up to the roof and look around. And one of his friends, when they were on the roof and they looked down, they saw a hole in a roof, like pretty much on the ground level, if I understood it correctly. And again, I'm gonna rewatch them for my next videos to take some more notes because it's a little bit vague at the moment. But I think it was an old conference hall or something like that. It was an unused room, but it had like its own, like there was a big white roof, and it was below the roof of the parking garage and way below the roof of the hotel. It was pretty low. I'll put a picture of it in it if I can find it. They found a big hole in it, so they, police came and went into the room where the hole was at and found Ray's body there. Now, ultimately, they concluded that it was suicide, which I understand. For them, the only way to get through that roof is to jump off the roof of the hotel, which would indicate suicide. But nobody around him believes that, and his wife doesn't believe that because the documentary does a lot of investigating into this and concludes that for him to make it to that roof, he would have had to make a running jump off the roof of the hotel and like run really hard to make it to that roof. And if you're going to commit suicide, you're just gonna jump off a roof. You're not gonna run really hard to make it to some specific point. He also couldn't have made it if he had jumped off the car park roof. It was too far away. He had incredibly bad breaks on his legs, but some investigators believe that they are not consistent with a fall, that they would have been broken some other way. And his flip-flops and glasses, I believe, were found on the roof. One of his flip-flops was torn, but the glasses were completely intact. His cell phone was found on the ground next to him, not a scratch on it. And I think these are investigators of the documentary, like independent. They said from a fall that high, glasses and a phone would have been broken. And the fact that the flip-flops and glasses were found on top of the roof, next to the hole, essentially, it almost looked staged, like they had been put there. Interestingly as well, he was not found on any security footage of the hotel, so they looked at the cameras at the entrance and in the lobby, and at no point could they see Ray. The camera on the roof was not working. Now they took us to the roof, and in order to get there, you have to go through a pretty big amount twists and turns everywhere in different directions. Like you had to know where you were going to find the entrance to the roof. Not to mention that most of the time, access to the roof was locked. They don't know if it was locked on that day, if someone unlocked it, or if it wasn't locked that day, but it's normally always locked. So it would have been almost impossible for him to get up on the roof on his own. Also, his wife said that he was deathly afraid of heights. She went up to the roof to look at it and see what it was like. And she said there were no barriers around the roof. She said, I was constantly petrified of being so high up, and he was the same. She said there is no way that he would have chosen to go up there. She thinks that he uncovered something in his job and that he was killed for it. Now, at the time that he died, he was working for, or doing some financial work for, I'm trying to find it here, a company called Stansberry and Associates, and it was run by his friend Porter Stansberry. Now, right after he died, the company put a gag order on all their employees, forbidding them to talk to police about this. They did look into the friend because he looked pretty suspicious, but they couldn't really find anything that he might have to do with it. The strangest thing about this whole case, I think, is that his wife found a folded up note taped behind his desk, I think it was, or computer. It was like taped to the back so that nobody could find it. And it was a really, really weird note. I'll read what it said. It said, "Brothers and sisters, right now around the world, volcanoes are erupting. What an awesome sight. Whom virtue unites, death will not separate." The note also had various names of movie stars and family members on it. It also said, "I stand before you a man who understands the purpose and the value of our secrets. That's why I hold them as secrets." According to investigators, he made some allusions to Freemasonry, but nobody, including his wife, understands what that note means, especially the long list of names with movie stars and family members. It is really bizarre. And the fact that he taped it to the back of his computer as if to say, I don't want anyone to find this. It was, I don't know, it's kind of weird. So, I personally don't think that he committed suicide just because it would have been a really weird way to do it. There is also seemingly no reason to, and I know you don't always see it coming, but judging the fact that he was fairly newlywed, his family all thought he was really happy, he seemed really happy. I don't think he had a reason to commit suicide, but it was also just a really weird way to do it. First of all, if you're deathly afraid of heights, you're not going to commit suicide by jumping off a roof. And he would have had to make a really hard run for it to make it to that other roof when he could have just dropped himself off and, he would have died either way. So I find that really strange. The fact that his glasses and phones were unscathed, I don't know. I mean, I think it kind of depends how they fell. If the glasses came off when he fell through the roof, there could have been like a little buffer, and his phone could have been covered by his pocket or something. I don't know. I don't put much stock in those things necessarily. I am not entirely sure that he didn't fall through that roof, but I would think more that he was thrown off it than actually jumped off it. I think the investigators believe that he was placed there, that he was beaten to death and then placed in that room and made it look as if he fell or jumped through the roof. I obviously didn't investigate it on the spot. I don't know. With the things I've seen, I would think that he was thrown off the roof and that his legs were broken by landing on them. But there were no other causes of death found. It's not like he wasn't strangled or he wasn't shot. If he was thrown off the roof, he would have been alive. And with the length that he fell, I would imagine that he wasn't even thrown off by one person, but by more than one. And I find it even stranger that he wasn't caught on camera anywhere. Like, he wasn't seen walking into the hotel. So I wonder then if anyone working in the hotel would have been an accomplice and got them in through some sort of back entrance where there are no cameras and gave them access to the roof, because again, getting to the roof is not that easy. So I think he knew that something was kind of weird. Oh, they traced the phone call that he got to his own office, but they couldn't specifically say who had called him. So, and then I think it was that office that he was at that moment working for, and then the company put a gag order on all its employees. So, they weren't able to find out who actually called him. But his wife said, it's not like you get a call at 6:30 p.m. and then run out the door and go, oh, I'm going to go kill myself now. Like, she said, you just don't do that. And she doesn't believe 1 second that he killed himself. But that he most likely uncovered something and that he was killed for it. Now, since airing this episode, they've gotten a good amount of tips from people. But so far, like, they've passed them all on to law enforcement. They can't say yet if anything is credible. I do believe that if law enforcement ruled it a suicide, they may not really be willing to reinvestigate it. But I hope they do, because I think it's a little sketchy. If he had simply fallen down, like, from the roof, then I would say, okay, as a loved one, you probably don't want to believe that he would commit suicide, and I would probably believe that theory more. But the fact that it was impossible for him to get to that point unless he did that, unless he, like, ran really hard, makes me think that that's not something he did himself. So that's really it. I mean, there's not much else to go on. There's not an awful lot of background about what he may have found. The note is the weirdest thing in the world. And I'm very curious to know what you think. If you watched the episode especially, maybe you picked up on stuff I didn't. If you haven't, but you have Netflix, I highly recommend you watch this series. And for the next videos, I'll try to do one a week. I will rewatch the episodes and take notes, because this was a little bit vague in my mind at this point. But I hope you liked it. And again, share your thoughts with me